Hi, my name is Courtney Santo, and I'm the author of a book called The Roots of the Olive Tree. But I'm here today to read a little bit from one of my favorite books called The Bridge to Terabithia. This book was actually banned, and it was banned for reasons that teachers and parents felt that children weren't ready to deal with issues of grief that are dealt with in this book. I remember reading this book in second grade. My teacher, Karina Dameron, read it to us out loud, and then I took it home and could not wait to read the end of the book and actually checked out of the library so I could get ahead of where she was reading in the class. This is one of the books that made me want to be a writer. It created a world beautifully and perfectly and dealt with issues that I felt were real at the time. I had had a childhood friend who'd been hit by a car the year before, and so death was something immediate to me, and this book was the first time I ever encountered my life in a book. So I'm going to read a short section to you today. Something whirled around inside Jess's head. He opened his mouth, but it was dry and no words came out. He jerked his head from one face to the next for someone to help him. Finally, his father spoke, his big, rough hands stroking his wife's hair and his eyes downcast, watching the motion. They found the burnt girl this morning down in the creek. No, he said, finding his voice. Leslie wouldn't drown. She could swim real good. That old rope your kid's been swinging on broke. His father went quietly and relentlessly on. They think she must have hit her head or something when she fell. No. He shook his head. No. His father looked up. I'm real sorry, boy. No. Jess was yelling now. I don't believe you. You're lying to me. He looked around wildly for someone to agree. But they all had their heads down, except May Bell, whose eyes were wide with terror. But Leslie, what if you die? No. He stared straight back at May Bell. It's a lie. Leslie ain't dead. He turned around and ran out the door, letting the screen bang sharply against the house. He ran down the gravel to the main road and then started running west away from Washington and Millsburg and the old Perkins place. An approaching car beeped and swerved and beeped again, but he hardly noticed. Leslie dead. Girl, friend, rope, broke, fell, you. The words exploded in his head like corn against the sides of a popper. God, dead, you. Leslie, dead, you. He ran until he was stumbling, but he kept on, afraid to stop, knowing that somehow that running was the only thing that could keep Leslie from being dead. It was up to him. He had to keep going. Behind him came the barripity of the pickup, but he couldn't turn around. He tried to run faster, but his father passed him and stopped, the pickup just ahead of him, and then jumped and ran back. He picked Jess up in his arms as though he were a baby. For the first few seconds, Jess kicked and struggled against the strong arms. Then Jess gave himself over to the numbness that was buzzing to let it be from a corner of his brain. He leaned his weight upon the door of the pickup and let his head thud against the window. His father drove stiffly without speaking, though once he cleared his throat as though he were going to say something, but he glanced at Jess and closed his mouth. When they pulled up at his house, his father sat quietly, and Jess could feel the man's uncertainty. So he opened the door and got out, and with his numbness flooding through him, went in and lay down on his bed. Thank you.